Welcome back, guys and girls, to another episode of Dad's Toy Garage. Last episode, we built these wheel tubs, and there's another episode where we built the bed floor. Nothing is more than screwed into place, so we're gonna have to get that welded in this episode. Put the roll bar in, get that thing figured out where those holes need to be, drill those holes. But we're gonna get this done pretty much this episode so I can move this thing. Right now it's propped up square. So let's get this done, let's get it all welded into place, and we got some priming to do on the back side of some of those parts. So let's roll. It's really quite a pain to put in. A lot of fiddling here. And I'll probably scratch it when I go to put it in. So I'm wondering, do we powder coat this thing or what? Alright, so that's kind of set in place. I don't think it's 100% right yet, but we'll get it snug down up on top here, and then I can drill these holes out for this thing. Right now it's kind of got some lean forward. So this thing is kind of not fun to install, but at least you don't take it in and out of the truck. And I'm trying to get it all lined up with the holes here that I've sharpied in. You can see them in there. So I think we're actually have to take and drill those after, just make sure those spots are right. All right, here's recap. What we did last episode was build these wheel tubs, put the ribbing in there, both sides. Previous episode was building this floor. So what I gotta get done now is these corners I haven't welded yet. I gotta build a bracket that pulls them down so I get a tighter gap for welding. And we gotta drill holes for the roll bar. So that's what we're gonna be doing to start this episode. And then we gotta pull it all apart, prime inside this channel here. It's a hollow section, I want epoxy in there. And may as well have a look inside. Looks very factory OEM. So I've made these little brackets here. This hole is oversized for the screw I'm going to use. I'm hoping I can get it. I'm going to tack weld it onto here and pull it and then put a screw in here. So I'll tack weld it maybe the thickness of a metal up. Then put a screw on and just start going until it pulls flush. There is the plan. And then that'll hold in place while I pull this panel out. And I'll have, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them in here. Maybe even just 2 does it. We'll start with 2, see if that does it. And I'm hoping that kind of keeps its shape. So then when I weld it, it stays put. So that's kind of the goal. Okay, new plan. This didn't work because this gets in the way and I don't have a long enough extension to drill through. So the other side we won't use those tabs. What I ended up doing, I tacked it inside, we'll grind it flush later, is on the floor jack, the running board is pushing up on there. I couldn't hammer it before because there's no room for that, but this works. So we'll do that and then we'll pull them out for welding. All right, so this is gonna come out now, I think. Once I got all the screws. And that it's not welded onto the truck. I didn't get all the screws. They blend in. That's easier. All right, so it worked pretty good. I don't want to weld from this side though. I want to weld from this side so that there's more strength in there, because I'll be filling this and grinding it smooth. It keeps it flush on the inside. So let's get on that. So the corner's welded up. I'm gonna drill these holes, knock that off the list right away. You guys don't have to watch that. But yeah, welded up. Welded up. So that's done. So I'll go get the other side done and we'll move on to the next thing. All right, we are gonna drill some holes into the quarter panel. I hate drilling holes, but we will get it done. So this is a seat mount bracket that I made that kind of sits underneath everything. I forgot to add these nuts. We're gonna make some weld nuts here. So that's on our checklist. I'll weld them in. So these are pretty important. If I had forgot these and welded the whole thing together up to that point, like the whole truck, I wouldn't have a way to bolt my driver's seat in. So that would have been a big oops. So our list is getting smaller. I've got epoxy prime now. There's some prep for that. I pulled all the floor out of here. The floor and the braces are all sitting in here now. I'm not epoxy priming everything. This has to come off. This is the mid-bed rear brace, whatever you want to call it. And I got to prime inside and where it meets the floor. We're gonna have to drill plug weld holes into here as well. I think we're gonna weld it from the bottom like this. That can happen after priming, really. Probably keep those holes clean that way too. So everything's gonna be like sanded so it sticks in those areas. I'm just gonna spot prime this stuff for now, guys. And I got a drive shaft sitting here for my 73 Celica. One of the last parts that needs paint. So I've got the wings primed for each side. And these little bits here are epoxy primed. Drive shaft is black. It was sandblasted. So I've spot primed the underside of the bed floor and these frame structure pieces that go onto the bottom of this. So we can weld that together once this is dry. Sweet. Let's cross the next one off the list. So next we got weld-through coating. All these holes need to be cleaned up. Primer has to come off and weld-through coating has to go on. I've done that on these. We didn't put weld-through coating on there yet. So let's grind a couple of them off clean. The idea is I got epoxy primer here coating as much as possible, but it will burn off when I weld it, and the weld-through coating will kind of turn it into a zinc galvanized situation. And some will still burn off. That's why I use cavity wax in the end. I've done a little taping here because I do not want the weld-through coating on here because it's not a top coat. It's meant to only be sandwiched between things or inside surfaces. So I'm going to pull this, paint it separate spot. Then we'll paint this. And then we'll give everything a second coat as it's got its window to work with. I'm not concerned about it landing inside there, but I don't want it on the outside. I don't want to have to clean that off. So for weld-through coating, it won't go here yet, but after the floor is installed, I've got it in these spots right there on each side. Got it done up under the rear seat area, or the front seat rear footing. This cross brace, the mid-bed support, and the wings. Let's go take that off the list. Oh, and seam sealer. Goodbye there. I'll do the grinding wheel tubs. Got the weld-through coating done. So before I do any other welding, I want to weld this piece on. And we showed in other videos, I'm going to scratch the weld-through coating out of these spots. You can see I've kept it very close to the edge. It's screwed into place to keep it like nice and tight. And before any of this, I actually ran the drill through each hole again to clean the weld-through coating out of there, so there should be no issues with it. making a good weld. So I welded this brace in. I was in a bit of a hurry. I wanted to get her done. So you get to see the it's installed footage. All right, guys, girls, let's weld it up. Start in the back here, and then work on the front. Alright, so I tried something. I turned up the temperature a bit. Like just a little bit, and that was too much. So I'm trying to get as spot a weld as possible. If you guys can hear the tone changing, but there are some spots where the screw wouldn't quite suck it as tight as I like. So I'm just double checking each one. I'll tap it down, start and finish. The 16 gauge is not going anywhere, and if it does, it's the floor, it'll be fine. So, yeah, I'm gonna finish this up. I'll listen to some music while I work. I'll show you when I'm done. So, let's roll. Alright, guys and girls, you can see behind me the bed floor is in there. It's also welded in. It's ground down, the welds. So it's ready to have the wheel tubs put in there. So I have screwed the wheel tubs in place for the very last time. We're about to start welding these things. Fit is very good. So we're gonna weld up some stuff here now. We'll get the outside. We'll get a couple shots of me welding on the inside there. We won't throw it all in there. We'll kind of get a small montage. This is a great coated stuff, supposed to help prevent rust, I guess. But I'm also finding it spatters a lot. So I gotta clean up the tip once in a while. So I think the order of operations is going to be, I'll get this whole side, I'll leave these for the end so I can figure out if I want to bring tension into them or not. Then I'll weld the inside of the tub, then probably to the floor, and then I have to weld the floor to the B-pillar. So let's go. Probably hear that from this weld to the last one, it's that much better. It's just with the tip sturdy, it doesn't get the shielding gas that it needs. And we'll jump back and forth so it helps cool it. got this side welded up, the one that I'm leaning on. And the next thing we will do is we'll weld the other side, but we're going to take a look at what's all welded. And then we'll go weld the other side, and you'll see that one when it's done. So you can see the plug welds, they're done here. These ones, don't pay too much attention. The fit was a little bit challenging there, so I got a little extra grinding to do. And if you get in here, you can see the plug welds there. So they wrap around. I have plug welded it onto here and along the top. So it's nice and solid, guys. I like it. This side is what's happening now. And at that point, we'll be able to keep some of the stuff in here when we put the top on, and I'll be able to have it sit on that floor, and we'll free up some shop space. All right, guys, girls, Tony led me on to a new welding wire. It's 023, and I was using Pro Start, and he told me you should try Forney in 023, or Fernie. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it, but check that out. Like, these plug welds, they lay flat, guys. My other ones, just for example's sake, they do not make you look like a pro. Yeah, so even on the side here, like all of these guys, it'll be hard to tell in the camera. It's hardly any grinding. When I did this up here, a ton of grinding. It was so much more work. This stuff just tends to really do its thing a lot better. Alright, guys and girls, this is a pretty big moment for me in this build because all the major metal work up to the V-pillars is done. There's some bracing I have to build yet. We're going to do some grinding down on all those plug welds. But this is going to come off because I need to fit the top, and it's in the way right now. There should be enough here to hold it in place. Plus, I have all the body mounts in. The front is still braced. So it's going to come off. Cross my fingers. Nothing bad happens. So let's do it. Alright, that's a pretty cool feeling. Getting in and out here is a breeze now, should be. I got a little bit of the bottom of these brackets left to cut off, but right on. I'm going to have to do a bunch of grinding now on the welds, but with that new welding wire, yeah, it's going to be a cakewalk now compared to what it would have been with the other stuff. So, I got the roll bar installed. It's backwards. Take a look at the padding up there. That is to protect the heads, kind of right there. That padding's supposed to be on that side. You can see the holes right here. That's supposed to be on the other side. Basically, I gotta now unbolt this whole thing, loosen these up, flip them around, and flip the whole thing. We'll do a time lapse, and it'll make sense. There you have it. This is where the padding's supposed to be. So when you're sitting in the jump seats that are supposed to be here, you're not smoking your head. This person's not so lucky at this point. But they're bolted in, 2 bolts per, and the other ones are just sitting there because I realized I'm short some washers. I'll use what I have, but I gotta bring one in as a sample. All right, I made one more new list, crossed a bunch off, and here's the final list for this episode. So we ground down our plug welds. You'll see that here. All these guys are nice and clean. I gotta get the outside ones yet, but we don't need to worry about that for putting the top on. I gotta do the wire loom tabs. I make those Not sure if we'll do marker lights. I just barely installed the roll bar enough that is, I know it fits. Installing top is coming tomorrow. I have a couple guys coming down for that. So these are those clips where the wire loom's gonna sit. I made them out of 16 gauge, so they should have some strength, just so they don't get broken off. And I believe they sit there probably for sure because the marker lights are in this area and that keeps the wires in here. I'm sure there's other things too. So off the list it goes. So I'm not sure, like I said, if we'll get to this. Well, I'm fairly happy with the fit and finish. I was quite nervous that things wouldn't line up, but the gaps are where they need to be. I mean, we got a damaged moldings up top. That's another time's situation. But looking at the overall gaps of the doors, looks awesome. Gaps down here, follow through. That all looks awesome. May as well look inside while we're here. Had this fall on my head before. Okay, we're kind of good. Yeah, inside. Now the goal will be to move this thing. Yeah, we'll look at the gaps along here. Super good. This side was really bad before. We got a little bit of issues in here again, but it came out pretty good, guys and girls. Like, it's not perfection, but it's pretty close. And I was almost certain it would be when I saw the gaps here, but I wasn't sure. Did I get the measurements right? Was it tilting too much this way or this way? It's sitting right, guys. It's actually bolted in place. Taking this thing on and off is a hassle. We talked about today, I had my dad, my brother, and Tony down, and we talked about maybe a quick clamp system. You'll still have to bolt it up in the windshield area here, but if there's a way to clamp it in the back would be awesome. And doors work good. Like, that they never did when I bought it. So we got the floor to do, that'll be coming. Actually, you don't have to slam them that hard. These are gentle doors at this point. Mostly. There you go. Gentle for a Jeep style vehicle. Well, guys and girls, we got the back half done. It's awesome. The roof's on. It fits like a champ. I gotta bring my Celica home. Some of you may not have seen that car if you've just tuned in for this build. It's 1973 Toyota Celica. I call Project Judith Ann. This one, for reference, is Scout. And there's a whole backstory. You can catch that in some earlier parts of different episodes. Yeah, we're gonna bring that car home. I got an engine to build for it. Cylinder head is at the machine shop right now. If you don't know about it, it's because 2 years ago I dropped that off at a local shop, in Winnipeg, and it's an hour from where I live here. It's supposed to be really good. They did awesome work on the engine block, but they didn't touch the head for 2 years. So I found a local guy like 15 minutes from my house here. He should do awesome work. He sounds very confident in what he talks about, and I feel pretty confident in his ability. So we'll be getting him to do that cylinder head. I think this will be mostly a winter project. Maybe I'll make some patterns for it throughout the summer if I need something to do. But yeah, Celica is next. So we'll talk to you later. Get in your shop, get your stuff done. See ya. Bye.